So we're going to be talking about SQL fundamentals, introduction to databases, and SQL. And this course is going to be totally hands-on. Okay. I want to show you what we do at our workplace. Even when you get on the job, this is what you're going to be doing. So I will show you everything that you need to know. Okay. And again, today you would start writing your SQL codes easily. Okay. It's a promise and it's going to happen. So yes, so we're going to be talking about what is a database. We're going to talk about, we're also going to know the difference between a relational and a non-relational database. So the non-relational database is another thing, another name we call it. We say it's a NoSQL, meaning you cannot query that with a typical SQL statement. Okay, then when and why? When do we use it and why do we use it? We'll talk about that. Then we'll also go and briefly talk about setting up your environment. And I believe everybody here is good with the environment. Then I will introduce you to SQL. I will introduce you to data definition language. I will also introduce you to data manipulation language. Those two will enable you to query any database, any table of any sort. And I'm super hopeful about that. Then we'll also take on hands-on exercise. We're going to be creating our first database. And then I will also walk you through some real-world analogies, examples. Feel free to throw me your questions and I would answer them. Then we'll wrap up. And then I also want to tell you that, hey, on Monday, our daily 30 minutes intervention show is coming up. Okay. We're going to be taking 30 minutes every day to do our exercise and our assignments. They will hit your email. They will hit you on Telegram. If you're not on Telegram, join Telegram today. All right. So let's get started. So a database, I have to clear that. So for a database, right, we need a system to store, organize, and manage data. So think of it like a digital filing cabinet, where data transforms into information. Okay, so with a database, basically, it helps us structure our collection of data for efficient storage, retrieval and management. So, like I said, in a very simple statement, a database basically is a system to store, organize, and manage data. Say, for example, we here in America or in Europe or Africa, the government holds onto our data. The government knows our tax records. So we are surrounded by data in every way, every part of our life. No, we're surrounded by data. So data could be raw facts and it could be processed. So data is raw when it's not being processed. Say you're gathering a statistic of men and women, just taking their names. And when you want to process the data could be census. Census data will now begin to do what? Count the number of people, the number of men, the number of women, the number of employed, the number of unemployed. So when that data is processed, it becomes an information. It becomes an information. So that's more like data, the difference between data and information. Data is raw, information is processed. So you should be able to know the difference between the two. So think of a library as well. You can think of other things as well. So books, they're well organized by categories, and those categories, they create meaningful collections. And when you think about the category, you also think about it with, hey, the information I have here is different from information I'll have while reading a gazette of magazines that has to do with animals and information that has to do with, or books that has to do with construction. You see, they are two different things and they are well arranged, categorized. You think of a database like that, and I will show you, like I said, this is core practical. I'll show you that as well. Let me just quickly jump here and show you this database. See this database, you can see it's a coaching database, right? And then you can see address. You see, it's arranged accordingly. See, well categorized. You have the database and you have the tables, all right? Database, tables, and on the tables, you have the columns, well categorized, okay? So let's jump back to where we were. Let's take this, all right? Like I said, this is core practical. You can see how that database was well arranged. A typical database is always arranged like a digital filing cabinet. You can see how that, like going in, going out, like a cabinet, you're pulling in and out, well arranged, okay? Digital. So let's talk about the difference between a relational versus a NoSQL database. All right. So when we talk about that, you see that a relational database is structured tables, structured. Like let's say, for example, your Excel. You normally do Excel, you do your inventory, do your budgeting. You're like, okay, my salary here, what I spent it on here, and then salary for the month of June, salary for the month of February, what I spent it on. You see, well structured, organized into tables, rows, and columns. So an example of that is my SQL, PostgreSQL as well. So without diving further again, let me show you something again. So if you take a look at this table, if you take a guess on that info, you can see it's arranged. These are the columns and these are the rows. These are the rows. This is a relational. There's a difference. The difference is a relational database has rows and columns. This is the columns and then the rows. Okay? So it's more like you're saying horizontal and vertical. Okay? Let's go back. All right. So one of the examples is MySQL. I just showed you MySQL. Similarly, we have another flavor called PostgreSQL as well. It's also a language to process data as well. We'll get to that. Okay, so we see how structured the data is, and the data is consistent. Consistent in the sense that if we're dealing with numbers, we'll have numbers. If we're dealing with texts, we'll have text. I'll go back again. You see, consistent. It could be a different name here, but you'll notice that this is text, age, 35, 35, 35. You can see DOB, dates. They are unique values. So they have unique values. ID, name, age, DOB, email. Okay? When we set up our environment, I will show you a different flavor of it. Okay? This is my SQL workbench. It's a different flavor of IDEs. So let's go back. So here we talk about the NoSQL database. All right, the NoSQL databases are like flexible structures. Document key value or graph. They could be key value pair in the sense that I will represent it with A equal to 1, B equal to 2, C equal to 3. Key value pairs. A key represents a value. A key represents a value. Meaning if I say A equal to 1, it means that Z will be equal to 26. You see, it's not like the regular table that you would basically see. That's why we call them NoSQL. Their structure is not in rows and columns. They're either document-based or key value pairs. Document-based could be Parquet format, Avro. There are different formats. I also have graph as well, which takes care of nodes, the root node, the leaf node, and all that. Okay, so example of those are MongoDBs, Cassandra as well. Those are example of NoSQL databases. So they are best for unstructured or rapidly changing data. So I give you an example of a rapidly changing data, like the logs you see when you're streaming stuff on Facebook. Facebook has unstructured data. Then when a common example is if your screen crashes, it doesn't show you columns. It just shows you common text here and there, and then you can process that data. Okay? Yes. All right. So these are examples of a relational database and a NoSQL database. If you have questions at this time, please put them in the chat. Okay? So I believe that should be clear. For example, if we're looking at a relational database, we want to be looking at like a typical Excel, which is common to everybody. Excel. A NoSQL database will be like data you receive from logs. Okay? So ads on if you say ads on Facebook, the ads on Facebook basically, they basically process the data. If you're looking at the client interface, you see the data looking like rows and columns. But in the back end, the data are received in streaming. So the data comes in key value pairs. You know, when I go to the whiteboard, I would explain that, okay? I will explain what I mean by key value pairs. All right. Thank you so much. So real world analogy, okay? So a relational database is a well-organized filing cabinet. Okay, let me give you an example of another well-organized that you can reference. Okay, let's say, for example, your wardrobe, right? Your wardrobe, you don't put your pants where you put your shirts, right? You have the space for pants, you have the space for your shirts, and you also have the space for your underwear, right? So that is you basically categorizing everything, you filing everything, you put, hey, pants go here, shoes go here. You don't, I'm sure you don't put your jeans where you put your shoes, well organized. That's the difference. So a NoSQL is dynamic. Anything can fit anywhere. Okay, you can use A to represent a subject. Say A would be excellent, B could be fairly excellent, and in another table, A could represent 1, B could represent 2. It's flexible. Okay, so let's take a step back. Let's just quickly take a look at our setup environment again, because for every SQL class, we need to always set up our environment. Okay, so to set up our environment, we basically we've gone through this setup, and this is our Explorer. Okay, the Explorer will help us, connect to our system. Open new file. With open, you can connect to your drive, your download folder, your documents, and all those. Yeah, and then your search can search for items. When you begin to have your code, you have your environment, you can use the search icon to search for anything, okay, within your code base or your folders. So we also use this This is Git. So in the future, we want to be able to like control the data we have on our local machine and also make sure that the data we have on the server is in line with what we have on the local. But whenever we make changes on the local, if we do not push it to the file on the server, no changes will be made. Okay? So that is where GitHub, Gitbucket, Git, and all sorts, Mercurial, they all come in. Okay? And in the nearest future, I would show you how to play around with that. So here again, you can run and debug your code. When you have your code written, we can debug. We run and debug. Okay? So here is the marketplace for everything we need to install. We install here. All right. So here, the remote tunneling, we use that to access servers with SSH into IP addresses, log on to the server, and then process what we need to process. Right? So when you have this, we need to install these apps, MySQL, Pylons, Python, Python debugger, Rainbow CSV, depending on the need. Okay. So how do we do that basically? So we do that by searching for these items here, like MySQL. Here you search in the marketplace. And then because it's been installed on my local, I do not need to install it. Okay. But if I need to uninstall, I want to go through the settings. So I can go ahead and install a couple of other stuff here that I need. But at the moment, I don't need any of this. And I'm sure you all have this. Give me thumbs up if you have all this on your VS Code. That will be very well appreciated. All right. So after that, we come to our folders. We'll come to our folders. Okay. So from our folders, we need to bring in our MySQL. So this is how we do it. We take the host, we connect the host. And once we connect the host, we hit enter. Okay. After host, we hit, let's say, for example, I'm doing 12 the 3 4 the 5 6. I hit enter. Then I'll be prompted to enter the username. I'll enter the username. Hope. Do enter. Okay. Do enter. Then I'm prompted to enter the password. I do the password 1, 2, 3, 4. Then the port is 3306 by default. You do enter. And then you, on the certificate file path, we have XSL installed. So you don't need to do anything. You do enter. So at the moment, what I've entered is invalid. I will get wrong error accessing the database or error accessing that table. Okay. So when I have this, and if it's showing me error, I would need to delete that connection. Does that make sense? Because this doesn't exist. Okay, you see error connect e timeout. Okay, so what we do, we delete the connection and use the appropriate connection sent to you. Does that make sense, everybody? All right. All right. Thank you so much. Good, good, good. All right, that's the local code to MySQL, correct. Yes, even if you're using your local, you would also have 3306. Okay, so, but the port we open from the server is 3306, everybody. All right. So if you have issues with the connections, feel free to connect with the support. You know, send your email in, send your queries to Telegram. There are a lot of able personnel. I won't mention names. They are super helpful. They will always help. All right, so let's jump back in. So again, there are some online portal as well that can help you to connect. They'll help you connect. Not connect, they might not be able, you might not be able to connect to the servers online, but they already have some instances you can connect to, and then you can begin to query the data. All right. Good, good, good. So let's jump to the next one. Let me introduce you to SQL. SQL stands for Structured Query Language. All right. Structured Query Language. So structured query language, SQL, is what we use in accessing tables or retrieving data information from databases. Okay. So structured query language for managing and manipulating relational databases. But its technology has really evolved in the sense that we also now use SQL to manipulate NoSQL, thanks to the likes of Snowflake and the rest. Microsoft SQL Server as well. We can also use that. We just add some few functions to parallelize and flatten those files, and then we see them as flat files or as relational, you know? So there are some core capabilities for SQL. We use them to query. We also use to retrieve, inserting, updating, and deleting data. So in all you do with this SQL language, you're using it to retrieve data, which you're going to learn today. I will teach you how to retrieve. I will teach you how to insert. Then, as we continue to evolve as a class or learn, I will teach you how to do all at a go: deleting, updating, inserting, and retrieving. Okay? So there are different ways of pronouncing SQL. The common one is the SQL, and most people say SQL. So when you hear SQL in your workplace, don't be confused. They're referring to the same thing. So it's nothing different. SQL, SQL, the same. Okay. So, and the fun fact of this is this was originally developed by IBM to manage relational databases. Okay. It's a fun fact. It's something that you need to know. Okay. SQL has so many flavors, so many flavors. We have the SQL being used by SQL Server is the same, but they have some minor tweak here and there. We also have the Oracle DB2, same, but same. We basically also have Postgres as well. They just have different ways of referring or basically pointing to situations. And I will basically, in this course, I will show you how to do a lot of them. Okay. The basic we're doing now is MySQL to get you to the next level. All right. Awesome. If you have questions, please put them in the chat. I don't want you quiet. I want you to enjoy this. All right. So we have talked about DDL, where we talk about data definition language. So when we define data, it means that we want to create, okay? It's just like you want to define me. I'm Hope Dion, right? So you know my name, you know my last name, you know my alias. If you want to be my friend, you can create a friendship table. If you don't want to be my friend, you can drop me, okay? If you don't like my name, you can alter my name by saying, okay, I just want to call you HD, you know? SQL is now owned by IBM. they originally, there are different versions of SQL, okay? Because we have different versions of it, all right? So, so when you talk about DDL, somebody will ask you, hey, what's a DDL? The first thing that comes to mind is data definition language. How do you define this? These are commands that we use to create, alter, and drop a table. Dropping a table is like deleting. Alter is like making changes to the table name, making changes to the columns. Create is creating a fresh table. You could be creating a database, and within a database lies a table. Okay? And when you create a table has rows and columns. Yes, correct. Alter is modifying. Correct. So, yes, we basically use these DDLs to define the structure of a database. That's the summary of DDLs. So, yeah, here comes the sweet part that we all love, that we should love, which is the data manipulation language. Awesome. So there is a difference between drop and delete. Delete is basically deleting all the rows or a section of the data you don't want, but drop will drop the table entirely. So you have to be careful when you use any of this, drop and delete. Drop, you just drop in the table of the database. Delete is you taking some values of your table. So you have to be careful when you do this. You don't do it in a production table, okay? So in a typical work environment, we have development and production. If you do this in production, it can cost you your job because that data is being used by business and business depends on it. So whenever situations like this happen, we do what they call rollback. Okay, we'll get to that part and let's don't jump the gun. Let's take it step by step. Good question. So for data manipulation, okay, there we want to do insert, we want to do is select, we want to update, we want to delete. You see that we're manipulating the data. We're inserting records, we select is, hey, this is what I want from this table. I grab it. Update, I don't like that name. I want that name, I want a different name. You update the name. Delete, I don't like these rows. I don't like this column. You can delete all those. Okay, you're manipulating the data using DML. Okay, so there's a difference between DDL and DML. Okay, it's a few things to take note of, and I believe you guys are super good with that. All right, let's look at crude. There's what we call crude operations in a typical database. That's how we know if a database meets its characteristics. Within a database, we should be able to create, we should be able to read, we should be able to update, we should be able to delete. Those are the basics of interacting with your database. Okay? We should be able to interact in a database. If you've seen the setup that you did on your local, you will understand that it's easy to interact with all this. After this class, I believe by tomorrow, everybody should be able to interact with their database. Also create a table in their own name and then they populate that table, which is going to be super nice. All right. So retrieve is to select some data and then read. You want to take data from the table? Yes. So let's get in there. Let's focus. Let's focus. Let's get it right. If you're with me, I want thumbs up. I want some coffee. My voice is going. All right. I've been talking all day. All right. So yes, we're going to be jumping to a lot of hands-on exercise. You know, one of the core reason why we're here today is to make sure that we can do this. All right. So I need you guys to just hold on. We'll stop the recording, then we will proceed with our lab. Okay, we're going to do hands-on, and I'll be guiding this hands-on, and I want you guys to just look at me, look at what I'm doing, and then we focus. But before then, I will try to connect my VS Code on that as well. Okay. So I will pause the recording at this point and then bring it back up if needed.
I don't know. If you're struggling with creating a folder, you just need to go to this little file here, click on it, and you go down to where it says new folder, click on it, and up here, if you see my screen, it says new folder. You just name the folder. You click on it, it pops up, and you name it dev. That's it. And just click out of it, and it's created.
Is this an HP folder? Oh, an HP laptop.
That was a huge noise. Sorry, what did you say?
It's an HP laptop.
No, it's Microsoft.
And it's different when you do it.
I'm sorry, you're echoing. I don't know why you're echoing, but you are.
It's different
Is
when
it
you use
just?
a Mac too.
Oh yeah, of course. Yeah, I'm sure it will be.
Okay.
Can you
But I
please
don't
go
know
back
what
to
they're
it again?
using. Okay, do you see my arrow? Do you see it? So it's down here. You see where it says file? Just click on the file. This little brown, yellowish looking stuff. Click on it. You go down all the way to where it says new folder. You click on new folder, and then you click up here where it says new folder. It will pop up on your screen, and you can just name this the folder dev. It should look something like this. If I can click. Oops, sorry. I need to right
I mean,
click
I
this.
don't have that option here.
So that's what I was trying to say. If this is a
You can also go the long route if you wanted to. I don't know what kind of computer you're using.
Apple.
Okay, no worries.
I
No
can
worries.
show you from
Thank you
Mac
so much.
if
Let me show
Okay.
you. Let me show that. Thank you so much.
I'll stop sharing then. All right.
Yes, thank you. I appreciate that.
Sure.
Okay.
My question is, are we doing it on our local laptop?
Yes, please.
Okay,
You wanna do it on mine?
I got it then. I can do it then. Thank you, sir.
All right. Let me share my screen and then this. I don't want to leave anybody, behind, but please let's be mindful of the time. Tomorrow is another day. So let me share my screen. So if you're on Mac, guys, please let me know if you can see my screen. Just give me thumbs up, recording in progress. So on Mac, just click on this drop down arrow here, new folder. Okay, done? Yes, no. Yes, thumbs up, thumbs up. So let's move, okay? This drop down arrow, new folder. And then you click on the folder, new folder, then you create dev. And then this is dev, DevOps, dev, create new folder. All right, so let's get started. All right, so now we need to bring that dev folder into VS Code. All right, so you click on the icon that looks like a double stacked paper, the top icon on your left. Look at me, look at what I'm doing. This paper. You see, so now you see no folder open, right? The no folder open. When you click on it, you see the very top, no folder open. Then you will now click on open folder. Are we there? Open folder. Then navigate to downloads. And you see the dev. You see the dev folder? Then we bring that folder in. Dev. You see, we already have the folder in there. Dev. Now we have our environment where we want to type, rename, create scripts, create other folders as well. Okay, so first thing first, in this dev environment, are we all there?
Yes, sir.
Yes, we are there.
Yes.
All
Yes.
right, thank you, thank you. Give me thumbs up, give me thumbs up, okay? So once we're in there, I need us to create another folder. There is a folder icon. There is a new file. There is a folder icon. Or click on the new folder and then type SQL. Enter.